I'm Annemarie Estor. I'm a poet from Antwerpen, in Belgium. I've published a couple of books with a publishing house in Amsterdam called Wereldbibliotheek, a world library. And I would like to read two poems. They were originally written in Dutch, but they were translated by Frederick Turner last summer. We hereby declare her guilty. She has arranged suns in circles. She has learned alphabets. She has knotted into her ears the chaos of inscriptions. She has set the heads of animals at the points of the wind compass. She has slept sitting, set tails on fire. With mountain folk she has eaten dark food. She has conspired with a woman, dressed in green, who was missing a leg. She has resisted grid lines. She has stolen time from the bellies of spinsters. She has washed the windows at night. She has taught a crab to fly and swum naked in the sea. Ride the end. The end is coming. The end is coming, snorting in the rain, with great friends in grinning firehooks, with a gallop on hollow ground, with the snot of the eons, with colossal fellows with spatters of goo high up on their groins, with numbed knuckles, Kyrie eleison. Haul out blankets from chests, set tree stumps on gridirons to dry. Save the fire in pots, for the sun will slow down, and the air is falling apart in crystals, and stone will become clear as water. And we speak of sunrise and sunset. We believe in our deceit, for the sun doesn't suck itself out of the swamp on the horizon, doesn't quench itself in those red ditches. It's all just language. The sun sails on, indifferent. She hears at a distance how loudly we call upon God and how cutting the wind. One seeks echoes in vaults, another the trilling in his brain. Some call upon whatever is hiding beyond the slums, further yet, where the light burns behind the last encampment. But the sun is not ours, and God is hiding behind the faggots in a pleat, in clumsy chanting. So set fire to the wings for the guests from afar, make meat for the battlers, scrape out the horses' hooves, give the animals blankets of felted cobwebs, make soup with lots of onions for everyone, but mainly for whoever feels that the end is coming. For it is coming, not on a horse, not on wheels, not with battering rams, but with a pain in the flank, a twitch of capillaries, in a bit of disturbed code, a breath in the night fog, a stitch in a nerve track. But before the end demands its toll, set fire to the straw, toss everything over the beams, make everyone choose, bellow or be silent, and ride her, that filly, that mare, with one bloody maid of 50 storm lions, with one body made of 50 storm lions. Take her hard, make her feel who's boss, clamp your hand like a trap round her neck, push out her shins, sign her to fold her arms, and take her in the pleat that bursts open on its own. Splash in her loins, tear her open now you still can. Pierce her, find there the fire in her womb. Pierce her through, find language in her belly, language of iron, nest of blood, radioactive vowels, and a radiant lamb.
Thank you so much, Annemarie.
You're welcome.
Very nice, very nice. And would you answer some questions. And first question will be, what is your cradle?
My credo. Well, credo, of course, means I believe, and I find it very difficult to say, especially if it has to be short, what I believe in. We believe often in a lot of things at the same time, and the things that I write about recently is about all the things we believe in, but we are not aware of. Because this book that these two poems are from is actually about the fact that we judge all the time. We look around us and we see the world, and we see ourselves, we try to look at ourselves, and we try to look at other people. And we're constantly judging. We're judging others and we're judging ourselves. And we're constantly hindered, I think, by all these judgments. So I can tell you about the first books of poetry that I published, and they were... I tried to do research into what it is to be an I, to be me, to be any I person. And then I described the relationships, that I knew between any I and a you. So my first book gave situations where an I would meet a you. So they were getting acquainted. And I tried to describe, and especially in my second book that was, where if you meet another person, it's always dangerous. Two things can happen. Either you do not really meet, and then you stay infertile. You stay on your own, like an island, separated from the other. So there will not be an exchange of ideas, there will not be an exchange of joy, there will not be any exchange. So both will remain, what I say, infertile. But if you do meet that other person, really, then another kind of danger emerges, and that's the danger of opening up your borders. Because if you are really encountering someone, you have to open up. And if you open up and you let yourself be influenced by that other person, you will lose something, namely your former version of you, the former version of me. So by any meeting, through any meeting, I change, and I inevitably lose something. I lose my past self. So when there is a successful meeting, there is another danger, and that's the danger of losing yourself. And I think that the I and the you that I'm talking about is not just two bodies, just me and you, for instance, or me and anybody else, but it's also about cultures. So when I use the personal pronoun I or you, it could also be about Europe and Asia, or about Europe and Africa, or about Europe and Russia, a country that I don't know much about still, but yes. So I try to do these experiments with personal meetings, and I hope it reflects something of whole cultures. Yeah.
But I think it's so seldom, because maybe you have so a great ability to empathy, to see people, to be so opened to contact and take their vision and ideas. But you don't lose your identity or or personality, or your own experience, and first of all critical mind, and etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
So it's these contacts will fill you, will make you more experienced, and know about world more, something more, and know something more about yourself too.
Yeah.
And to generate, to born some new ideas, new thoughts, and poems and poetry work. Yes. So
I don't
see
know.
a pop.
Yes, yes. I don't know if it is rare or a rare thing to find a person that's really open and interested. You know, a colleague poet, Mustafa Kur, recently used the word wegkijkblik, which means to look away, the gaze away from something, if you don't want to see something, and that's very much present in Europe, in Northern Europe especially, I think, that it's such sadness whenever we look away from something, and I think, yeah, we should be more aware to what a gaze could open up. I mean, it could open up whole worlds, contacts with other persons, and it's actually one of the points of critique that I have of my own country, the country that I come from, the Netherlands. I lived there in the year 2000 when I first went to Spain. I went there for a month, and I saw there that people actually looked at one another, and I had never experienced that before. I had only ever noticed people looking away. They were always looking away from me. Nobody ever saw me. For a long time I thought I was invisible in the Netherlands. I really thought I was invisible. I sometimes write about it too. And I can imagine, because I used to be invisible myself, nobody took an interest in me. I was alone for a very, very long time. Before that I was bullied by my own classmates. Nobody wanted to play with me, they didn't want to have me at parties. And if I got attention, it was negative attention, because I wore big glasses and braces for my teeth, and I had strong opinions about things which didn't make me really popular. And you know, there was a lot of negativity. There was a lot of, you know, disinterest, and I still think there's a lot of disinterest everywhere. And it took me the confrontation with more southern countries of Europe to see that you know, you want to meet people. I mean, humans aren't made to be alone, and yeah. I don't know if it is something typical for Northern Europeans, but I think basically any disinterest is rooted in fear, and I think also that aggression is often rooted in fear. As long as we go on fearing the other, you will not go forward. You have to let go of your fear. You have to overcome it. So if we let ourselves be ruled by fear, and of course this is a very a problem of today with all the things that happened in Paris, and we should not be fearful, not at all. We should keep on meeting each other, and even if you think that the other person is very different from you, that's even a more reason to go and talk to them.
Absolutely agree with you, Annemarie. It was a great school for you, how to deal with loneliness, yes? And,
yes, yes.
And you could focus on your own work, studying and reading books, and etc., etc. So, thanked these circumstances,
Yes, yes.
you became a person, a personality, a poet, a strong person, and person with your own position and your own vision, and you feel so deep, and you are so sincere to express yourself. That's no hypocrisy, which sometimes we see in society, in groups. That you are sincere to express yourself and to talk to people. Absolutely open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, what have I got to lose? I mean, of course, you will also meet people sometimes who will take advantage of you, and who might, inflict pain and do you harm even. And of course, that's not easy. I still meet people like that sometimes, and you have to deal with that. But I think there's nothing as bad as loneliness. So I think it is worse to be isolated than to meet a person who will take advantage of you, or who will steal something from you which is not his or hers to take. It's not so bad. I mean, we have more to give than we think, and in the end, if you meet someone who takes advantage of you, I make a mental note, and I know that this is a poor person who was obviously in need of something, and that's all the more reason to be aware of how rich we really are, because we were born with, everybody is born with nothing. We're all born naked, we only depend on the first person to pick us up, which is our mother, and to give us clothes. We're not born with clothes on. We're not born with a car or a cradle or with food even. We receive all that. And in the end, we will die alone and naked. And in between that, there's nothing else but to celebrate the fact that there are other people, because everything we ever get is from other people. So, I almost sound like a priest now, which is not the idea. But
secular priest.
Secular priest, yeah, I guess so. Although
but poet is like a priest, yes.
Yes. Yeah, in a way, yeah. You
and maybe you have some prophecies.
Prophecies.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, this poem was a prophecy, the long one about right at the end. It's a prophecy about the end of civilization. And there's a lot of violence in it, of course. I mean, we've heard that. And people can be violent. Violence is part of life, I'm afraid. And but I think that you know, there are two forces guiding us. You know, life and death are constantly chasing us. I mean, we cling to everything because we want to have it, and because we want to grab it, and we want to make love to it, and we want to eat it, and we want to devour it, and that's love, eros. And then there's thanatos, death, which is scares the hell out of us, and we're afraid of letting go. We're afraid of you know, losing it. We're afraid of being cold and alone. And we're constantly influenced by these two forces. So I try to make a situation, a tableau vivant, somebody once called it, wherein we're no longer guarded by the civilization that we built up, and there's a world war or something, and 99% of the world population has died. And then, of course, there will be many, there will be hardship, there will be violence. I mean, there's a rape scene at the end of it. But I describe that out of this rape comes a moment of peace and of innocence again. And so I write this because, not to incite people to go out and rape women, because that's not my message, but that out of fear will emerge trust again, and out of sin we will see innocence come back. But then again, in another part of this book I write that we cannot choose whether we want to be holy or whether we want to be a dirty pimp, you know. There is a hunger for, how do you say it? In our hunger for life, we do bad things. I mean, we eat animals, we have rough sex, we inflict horrible things to other people. We push people aside. We want to be in front of the camera and not behind it. I mean, all these are selfish things, but these things come with life. And, you know, I think in the end, I hope it'll be a balanced picture. I hope nature is like that.
Annemarie, what do you think? What is the role of the poet in modern society, especially maybe in Belgium?
In Belgium, well, the role of the poet, it's a difficult one because, of course, we are part of a tradition, a poetic tradition, which, you know, is long. The history is a long one, and if we want to or not, we are standing in that history. So for a long time, the poetry of the Low Countries of Netherlands and Belgium stood in the post-World War II tradition, and I found myself in this ideology that after Auschwitz one should not create beauty anymore. You know, Adorno said that it's not right to strive for beauty after Auschwitz. You know, we are such evil creatures to do this to another person. We do not deserve beauty anymore, or something. And that led to a whole a couple of decades in which one would write what I call anorexia poetry. No adverbs, it was all like a skeleton. I mean, the poems reflected the poor people from the concentration camps. And I don't think any good will come from that. I mean, why should we keep on repeating the pain that was inflicted back then? I mean, the first thing I want to say is that the poet should bring beauty back into society, because there is so much ugliness. I mean, I get really, really sick and tired from all the filth that I see in our economy, in newspapers, in politics. It's all egocentric, it's all about money. And I get, literally sick from all that. At the moment, for instance, I'm putting flowers on my Facebook wall. Not, I'm doing that because I need space for something else, for beauty, basically. I need a place where I can get away from these judgments that are implicit, that I spoke of before. The judgments that we keep on repeating. I mean, I do that too. Everybody judges. But I find, that may sound really weird, but I find peace in these still lives, in these flowers and so forth, because they don't judge. So there's a kind of silence coming from nature sometimes, and I think that's important, especially in city life. I mean, Antwerp is 171 nationalities, and we all have opinions, we all have histories, we all have cultures and civilizations, there's ideas going around. I mean, it's maddening, and especially with the advent of internet and the social media, ideas and judgment and opinions are flying around like idiots. And I think actually that's very dangerous, because strange ideas can emerge in split seconds, and then the next thing you know, they're at the other side of the world. They get completely torn out of context. I mean, context doesn't exist anymore since glass fiber internet. I mean, everything sort of moves in high speed over the world, and it's actually one big chaos. That's how I look upon it. So what I try to do as a poet is to create some kind of space with imagery and music. Mainly I try to put music in the text, where I do reflect upon all these things, but I try to make people feel that that there's more, and that there is hope, I guess.
Hope and
Hope in
other
beauty.
world and beauty. So
Yes.
It's kind of escapism, but
Yes.
it's
Yes.
safe escapism.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. There is certainly an element of escapism in my work, yes, because I want to create a world that is better than that other world. Yes, I think, I liked fairy tales when I was a child, and I think the fairy tale is very important also for adults. We should keep on believing in fairy tales. I only know one true utopian person in my life. I've met one, I think. His name is Hugo Ongena, and I think that's incredible. Most people in Europe that I know are, one way or another, so full of irony, so full of cynicism, so full of sarcasm. Well, maybe not most people I know, maybe that's not true. But there's a lot of it going around. And irony and cynicism won't get us anywhere. We have to believe in something. And why not in a fairy tale, you know? Why not? Everything's possible.
Because it's some kind of illusion, and it's dangerous to have a lot of illusions.
Illusions. Yes. But we are constantly living in illusions. I mean, reality that's presented to us is illusional always. I mean, we've lived in the illusion that we could keep on spending money without earning any money. I mean, I'm talking about the excesses of capitalism that we have lived in for such a long time and that we're still living in. I mean, we keep believing in economic growth, for instance. I mean, that's a total illusion. It's not possible if you think it through. So, you know, and that's a dangerous illusion, indeed, that makes a lot of victims. I mean, capitalism utterly, you know, feeds off those who are prepared to work for the lowest wages. I mean, the Vietnamese, the Nepalese that are working their ass off in horrible, horrible circumstances. That's what capitalism really is about. I mean, and we look at the beautiful side of that, you know, in catalogs on websites where we can buy nice stuff, where we can buy cars and beautiful computers and fashion and wonderful things. But what we are not presented with is the dirty and horrible dark side of that. So, you know, what's illusion? What is that?
But capitalism has a transition to socialism, and we see it, some welfare and substances to support people, to care, to care about people. So it's not a wild capitalism like it was in the 19th century, maybe.
Well, I'm afraid that
during Marx's time.
Of course, there's how do you say it? I mean, at the moment, capitalism is going mad. I mean, the 1% owns everything and the 99% owe just a little bit. I mean, this is going the wrong way, and I can only hope that you're right and that we will return to some kind of socialism, you know, back to what we used to call the welvaartsstaat. I think one would translate that as welfare state, but I'm not sure. You know, in which people earn a normal amount of money and they can live in a normal house. You know, they don't have to be all the same. I mean, how can you be the same as another person? I mean, I prefer to dress in red and another woman will dress in green. I mean,
of course.
But the one dress shouldn't have to cost $100,000 and the other one is only $1. You know, I mean, it's insane. But I can only hope that we will get back to normal financially. Yeah, I mean.
Yes, but when you have sales, you can buy a dress which costs 100 for 10 euros.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
It's some kind of social justice.
Ah, okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
And a month of socialism. and communism, maybe. But I agree with you that thinking a lot about money, about earn money, how to be rich, and how to earn more and more money, it's a wrong way. I think the most important is a development of yourself, your consciousness, you know. And it is the aim of our existence. So, but in Europe, in Western Europe and Belgium, I faced with a lot of spiritual people, a lot of, and they very nice people, and they think about nice things like poetry, books, theater, artworks. So in each cafes, I see paintings. I visited a cafe where were organized an event with poets participations, and it was great. I really appreciate it, and I really like it. So I see a cultural life.
Yeah, I hope that what you see in Europe, that it's a mentality that will last, you know, and I hope that we will be successful in exporting this to other parts of the world still. I mean, because I heard that the only thing we export to Afghanistan, for instance, is pornography. You know, the only movies that they can see there. I don't know if it's true, but it scares me if it's true, that the only movies that they can see there that are export products, that is porn. I mean, what kind of an image will they have of us if that's the only thing they see? So I hope that somehow there will be enough people who will travel, who will keep on traveling, and who will show to others who are not others, but they're just our brothers and sisters, you know, this interest in the mind, in the beauty of the mind, and that there's, you know, that ideas will be exchanged, and that we can sort of keep up our long tradition of respect and interest in the free flowing of ideas like that. And because I worry about our image abroad. I think there's a lot of negative imagery going around, and that has everything to do with what I said before, with the way we wage our foreign policy with money, with wealth, with our imperialist and colonialist past. Yeah, we have to give back.
But I think it's not you're guilty. I think it's not. It's some kind of stereotypes, prejudices, and politics, policy. As for Russia, for example, they in the mass media, what you can see on TV about Europe, that is gay Europe, you know, that it's porno, absence of spirituality, but we are so spiritual, and right for abortion and etc. But in reality, people want to go to Europe and to live in Europe.
Why?
Because it's a liberal place. Because governments and society is better, manage better than in Russia. And in fact, Europe is more spiritual than Russia, and Europeans have more empathy, have more thoughts, have more culture, have more ideas and care about themselves, about their society and other world too, and help people.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
So yes, it's in Russia, in my point of view, it's some kind, but it's a propaganda against Western world.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a propaganda because when people come to Europe and see how people live and how they care about their place of living, about their life, about shops, about middle class, how can they earn money and it's enough for life, how states support people and etc. etc. They see how it's clear on the streets and how people polite and smile. But I see smiles.
Good.
I see a lot of smiles.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah. I miss
in Russia, if you smile,
yeah.
people think you're crazy. By your smile. And people smile, and it's. I see tolerance. I see multicultural society. I see a diversity. So, of course.
Could be better.
Yes, of course.
I mean,
it's in comparison, of course.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, in Antwerp, there's still zones where some people don't regularly visit certain zones, and other people, vice versa. They won't meet really in a different area. But of course, you can go there. Nobody's telling you not to.
Yes.
You can meet other people in the street if you want to, if you are willing to smile and to say hi. I mean, that's actually a quote from one of the other poems in my book. The only thing you have to do is get out of your taxi and walk up to this person and say good morning or good evening. And that's all it takes.
Yes. And if you would like to criticize your authorities, you would not afraid to be put on the hospital, on the clinic, or to be prosecuted.
No.
Yes, you have really real freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and it's very nice that you have a freedom and you live in free society, and I like it too. So, and you can express yourself, and of course I was impressed yesterday evening when I read your poem, Annemarie. Yes, and And yesterday I visited one shop, which is dedicated to art, books of art.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
And I was really impressed.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, art and artworks could change minds. And what you do, it certainly change minds too.
Yes, well, you're right, of course. I mean, I can say everything I want and I can express myself the way I want. I won't be locked up for it. But at the same time, poetry is a marginal phenomenon. Not many people will read it. Art is, looked upon as, it's, I guess, marginalized in a way that the real, how do you say, what these artists really want to convey often remains within the artistic sphere itself. It remains among peers. It remains in a subgroup, in subcultures. And what I would really like is if poetry would function in companies, or artwork, if it would function in financial institutions, if art would be really, really present in everybody's mind when they're doing their job, when they are treating patients, when they are listening to clients, when they are writing software, I don't care. But for art to remain in this artistic corner, is to make it helpless, is to render it impotent, really. So, I wrote a fairy tale for a company. And what I did was I listened to the manager for 2 days, and she spoke about what she tried to do for the past 7 years. And then for a month I sort of worked with all this, the company history, and I turned it into a fairy tale. And then she printed the fairy tale into a very nice book with beautiful illustrations, wonderful. And she sent it to all her clients. And actually I hope that through these initiatives, poetry and art will sort of trickle down or leave their marks and their spores onto places where real decisions are made, and where foreign policy is created, and where financial decisions are made. Because I don't want to just write a book that's on a shelf somewhere. I don't really care about that. What I care about is that the ideas are really assimilated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, and to influence people way of thinking.
Yeah.
And
in a practical way.
Yes, and in a practical way, and to make people happier, and
yes.
And their lives more interesting. And,
yeah, because that will influence the decisions that they make.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's good. Annemarie, thank you so much for your poems, for your interview. It was so interesting and so sincere, and I really appreciate it, and wish you all the best, and great success, a lot of light and positive.
Shukran. Thank you.
Thank you so
Merci
much.
beaucoup.